Now, I'll have to admit to being a little confused recently when I heard Bill Maher giving some advice.
Now that summer is upon us, the Occupy Wall Street movement must think of a more effective form of protest than camping.
Well, it wasn't just camping. There was a little more to it than that.
Because what does taking over a park really achieve?
Are you kidding? It brought people together around the world and gave a voice to this anger and frustration that so many people are feeling, this 99%, who've had all they can take with this insane greed of these big banks and the Wall Street gamblers who steered us into this crash and walked away without a scratch. And then right away they got hungry again, and so they ordered some more money, and they gave themselves bonuses. Yeah. Anyway, it achieved quite a bit, but I know what you mean. Got to move forward. What's the next step?
To be considered a real movement, it has to start moving asses off the streets and into the voting booth.
Okay, yeah, voting might work. We could rock the vote again. For some real change this time. But I still had doubts, so I decided to get a second opinion from someone maybe older and wiser.
On election day, I stay home. I don't vote. Meaningless.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality. Both parties are owned and controlled by the corporate elite, and for the Occupy movement to get all tangled up and bogged down in our corrupt politics, try to get some of our people elected.
It seems to be working for the Tea Party.
Right. After a few years, they've gotten some people into Congress. But this is just what the status quo loves to see. Let them argue and fight over things like tax brackets. Yeah, that divide and conquer thing still going strong. Let them write some legislation and we'll make sure, thanks to the rest of Congress that we own, that nothing substantial gets done. And what a wonderful waste of time it is.
So I know that a little later on this year, you're going to have another one of those really swell presidential elections that you like so much. You'll enjoy yourselves. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure as soon as the election is over, your country will improve immediately.
And the Tea Party, now that's just about some tax reform, which is nothing compared to the sweeping structural changes to the system that many in the 99% are talking about. For instance, this whole business of making money by making nothing. All these guys paying themselves millions of dollars for just moving numbers around inside computers. They don't produce anything real, tangible, products that people need. This is ridiculous. And I don't mean that like this is ridiculous, but we've learned to live with it. No, I mean it like this is ridiculous. Why have we let it go on this long? It's got to go. Okay, all right, settle down. Look, I'm sure you update your computer and software now and then, right? Yeah, of course you do, because things change. New information, better ways of doing things. We're constantly updating everything, except for some of these established institutions, which really need it. And this making money from making nothing, somehow we missed that update, which should have been installed decades ago, and it's been crashing our system, literally, over and over again. And you want us to get elected to Congress and then get rid of Wall Street from within the system that is owned by Wall Street? Now that is crazy. Here's another thing. What's the deal with this ownership class? Because in the past, people worked for companies and made their products, and if these were good products and the company was successful, they might get a raise or a bonus, some kind of return for their work. But now these companies are just bought and sold by these big conglomerates. Glom, that's a nice little nasty word inside of the big nasty word. These conglomerates will just buy these companies, and then the owners and their shareholders, they'll make the profits for once again making nothing. And do they want those profits to grow? Yeah, they'll want more and more for making nothing. So they might have to downsize. Hey, can we get rid of a few of those workers and make these workers put in some more hours for less pay and reduce their benefits? Hey, they won't quit. These are desperate times, just the way we like it. So they know they're lucky to have a job and we can squeeze them for all they're worth. because this is what best serves our ownership class. Really? Is this what we get in our democracy? You're thinking it's no democracy, right? When your government is controlled and run by the ownership class, that's the definition of a plutocracy or oligarchy. Yeah, rhymes with malarkey. Let's call it that, or American oligarchy, malarkey. Yeah, so that's got to go. I mean it, yeah, it's got to go. And what else? The central banks of the world and their debt slavery scam. Talk about making money for nothing, making money out of nothing. Got to go because it doesn't make sense. Yeah, nothing to do with reality, with natural law. And maybe you can make sense of it from within some fictional money game you've made up, but we have to deal with reality now. Gotta get a grip on reality. And what else doesn't make sense? This perpetual growth, consumption, and waste economy that everyone's saying it's unsustainable, but we keep on doing it. All these things, they got to go now. And Bill is aware of these problems. That's not the issue.
And that's not because Occupy didn't have the right message. It did. That America's wealth is increasingly in the hands of a tiny kleptocratic priesthood of finance cowboys and the politicians they buy. Protected by a free fire zone of rules they wrote themselves, feeding on the republic from within like a transcontinental tapeworm the size of Route 66.
But he doesn't seem to understand that these problems are inherent to this system, see? And they'll just continue unless we change it. And the wise man, of course, he understands the problems, and he had at least one solution for it.
This country was bought and sold and paid for a long time ago. The shit they shuffle around every 4 years.
So you want to completely rebuild the whole system? How in the world? I mean, do you seriously think we could do that? Yeah? How? Well, it won't be from within the system. We know that for sure. Yeah, that's really the main point I'm trying to make here. It can't happen from inside the system. And nobody knows exactly how it will unfold, but I think it might go something like this. First of all, people will have to become so fed up with this game that's being played now that they begin to voice their anger and protest and demand this change. Oh wait, that's already happened. Is happening in countries all over the world where things are getting pretty bad, but in another way, that's good because it puts us all in the same boat, you see? We're already in this together, and this 99% has to include everyone in all the countries.
Occupy's motto is, the only solution is world revolution.
Exactly. That's what I've been trying to tell you. It has to be a global transition, and it's the only way it'll work, okay?
Okay. What about setting our sights a little lower?
No, we have to do this now. The longer we stay in this system, the worse it gets. Okay, now we've got the demand. Next, we have to define the goals. And that would be the easy part, really, because it's all these things we've been talking about. An end to this broken, corrupt monetary system and to the undemocratic ownership class. We want a system that allows us to be good stewards of our planet, the opposite of this consumption and waste, infinite growth economic model. And we have to do this soon, yeah, like now. Because when it gets to the point where Mother Nature starts flipping you off, you know you're screwing up. And we want a system that allows us to cooperate and collaborate with the rest of our species instead of fight and dominate. Okay, I know cooperate is a dirty word to some people. We have to compete. Okay then. We want a system that allows us to compete with each other and with ourselves in healthy ways rather than compete against each other in so many destructive ways. Yeah, the goal has to be to cooperate and take care of our fellow human beings, you know, like that guy, what's his name? Jesus. Yeah, like Jesus would do. And when we can cooperate on a global scale, we can get rid of the military conflicts and the militaries. put an end to the endless wars, and we have to do this now. This is what the 99% of the people in all the countries really want. It's just that 1% who want to go on with these wars. Okay, also no more of these irrelevant jobs that are just there to keep the wheels turning in some obsolete economic system. We want to be free to work at relevant activities that directly benefit us, and hopefully have a little more time to spend with our families and pursue other interests. And all this is possible now at this point in time because of our technology. Okay, next would be the plan. How to put these objectives in place. Need to have a sensible, well thought out course of action. And this will be a little harder, but nothing we can't do. So we'll need our best and brightest minds, grounded in reality, helping to lead the way. And we don't want leaders telling us what to do. We want our brightest minds showing us what we can do. We'll need our most knowledgeable people in the fields of technology because we're talking about producing the things that human beings need, and these are technical operations. And maybe you can help. I don't know, have you spent some of your time working with, say, photovoltaic cells used with solar energy or turbine technology related to wind and tidal power, or with these new age materials that are efficient for housing construction? Maybe you're working in agriculture, keeping up with the latest breakthroughs in organic food production? If so, we need you. If not, can you find a few people in your country who fit this mold and ask them if they might help with this plan to organize our available resources? And I think most of them would, because they understand the need for this more than anybody. And it will be out in the open, online, so that everyone can see the logic and follow the train of thought that leads to these solutions. And this is the most important part, really, because you've heard people say we just don't have enough to provide for the needs of everyone on this planet. And then you've heard other people say that if we used our resources sensibly, with this objective in mind, we could provide enough 10 times over. Maybe a couple times over, I would think, but I don't know for sure. That's just my opinion. Uninformed, maybe, like many of the others. So this is why we need this plan laid out in detail with facts that can be checked. And just like with Google Earth, anyone will be able to zoom in to their community and see which resources and energy systems and production facilities will be utilized to enable this new sustainable socio-economic system that could be called a resource-based economy, if that's what we want to call it. Nothing will be set in stone. In fact, it will always be changing to keep pace with the most efficient methods, scientifically proven, that emerge as we progress. So a redesign on a global scale. And this is actually happening, beginning right now, here at the end of 2012. It'll be interesting to watch it grow over the next year. And then at some point when a majority of people understand it and they can see what's possible and they support it, and that becomes a vast majority, it's like a wave that keeps us moving in that direction, and the momentum carries us the rest of the way. And you hope that the people who might still be clinging to their kingdoms would recognize the benefit to them personally and ask themselves, what kind of world do I want my children inhabiting? But at some point they'd have to say, I guess it really is 99 to 1, and our militaries are with the 99. So this is what we have to do now, the sensible thing, because trying to make some changes from within this system, it's like putting little band-aids on the ornery beast that's mortally wounded and bleeding all over the place, until it gets to the point where you say, what's the use? We're just prolonging the agony.
Maybe it's time for Occupy Wall Street to actually participate in the American political process.
No. Remember what I've been trying to tell you. can't happen from within this system. Because doing things
like canvassing neighborhoods, raising money, running candidates for office, manning phone banks. It seems to be working for the Tea Party.
Doesn't there need to be some kind of electoral strategy of some kind, whether it's third party or something, in the sense that in the final analysis, to wrest that control, you need political power?
No, that's incorrect. All of the true correctives to American democracy came through movements that never achieved formal positions of political power. Whether that was the Liberty Party that fought slavery, the suffragists who fought for women's rights, the labor movement, or the civil rights movement. I just don't think we live in a system where you can vote against the interests of Goldman Sachs.